Entrepreneur MBA podcast purpose is to help existing business owners grow their companies past the 10 million in revenue per year benchmark. Here is your host, Stephen Halasnik.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Halasnik, and I am co-founder of Financing Solutions. Financing Solutions provides very easy to set up lines of credit for small businesses, and I will be your host for today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast. If you're interested in getting a line of credit, or at least learning about it, we provide you with an offer right on the website. It's easy. There's no documents required to get the offer. See if you're approved. My whole career, I almost have always had a line of credit in place for my multiple businesses. But if you're interested, just visit our website at fscreditline.com. That's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com. For those of you who don't know me, over the last 25 plus years, I've built 6 companies in the $5 million to $25 million range, including 2 companies that have made the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies in the United States. I love learning from people with business experience. And today I'm excited to be speaking with Lynn Whitbeck from Petite2Queen. Lynn Whitbeck is the queen of sales. Her business, she's a business owner and entrepreneur. And people hire Lynn to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profit. Lynn is the founder and CEO of Petite2Queen, host of Get More Clients on the Win-Win Woman Network, and streaming on Amazon Fire, Roku, Apple TV, and others. She has been seen in USA Today, the Huffington Post, Chicago Tribune, and more. Lynn, welcome to today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast.
Stephen, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. I haven't covered this topic in a while, and I'm the sales. I started my career for 8 years in sales, working for Xerox. So I kind of, although I don't do that type of work, I haven't done that in a while. That's my skill set, certainly. So today's topic is sales strategies to get more clients and boost profits. Since the internet has come about and the ability for marketing to be multi-channeled now, which of course marketing and sales are 2 different things. How has sales changed in the years now?
I'm going to go sort of devil's advocate. Sales is still the same thing. It's about serving and helping others to create an impact in your client's business, in their life, in their with their team members, with their clients, and with their community. And it's still a human-to-human relationship. So while we have all kinds of fancy new tools and ways to make connections and so many different ways that we can leverage, it still comes down to building lasting relationships that will foster and grow, provide you with a wealth of introductions and referrals and additional business from those clients.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what percentage of the people who start businesses and are building their businesses are sales type of people versus, internal type of people. I mean, my guess is a lot of business owners, build their business in the beginning through their own salesmanship, right? And then they go from there. Having said that, I think a lot of people have the wrong impression of what professional sales is really like, right? Professional sales, everyone thinks of sales as used car salesman, as your dealership, a retail salesperson. And I think the difference between professional sales and Lynn, I know you've done this for a long time too, is a professional salesperson asks questions, is uncovering needs, is uncovering to see if their product or service is the right fit. A unprofessional salesperson who's not really properly trained, it's spouting out information. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that, whether you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you still, when you start your business, you're still wearing that hat of making those connections and making those sales. I often call that founder magic. And the difference between, sales is one of those areas that they have the highest paid profession and the lowest. And it's from that range. And there are the negative, manipulative, sleazy tactics that give sales a bad name. But professional salespeople, it's about the relationship. It's about becoming a partner, a trusted partner, and finding those solutions. And if your solution, you're not, and not making your solution fit. If it's not the right fit, it might be the not the right fit for now or under these circumstances, but being a resource. And once again, that trusted resource, that is what makes really separates the wheat from the chaff in the sense of sales, and also having a strategic plan. When you're looking to grow your business, founder magic is one of those elixirs you just can't bottle. So having a sales strategy in place that you can then replicate, bring more and more people on, and they have a path to follow for success, is how you enable your business to grow and scale.
When you are doing your coaching or working as a consultant for the various organizations you work for, what is the thing that stands out the most when you're brought on board?
The first thing is client thinking. Often the customers have a perception of why their clients purchase from them, and there's often a disconnect. And when there's an existing business that has an existing clientele, we'll go through an exercise where we actually interview past clients, current clients, near misses, and then we interview the team, the internal team. And by doing that, you see the gap. And then by identifying what the client is actually thinking, why they're hiring the company, that allows us to then pivot our so we have the right message and we're making the right connections with the right audience. And that's a key part. And client thinking is something that is part of the entire client journey. And clients, their perception and how they think changes along that journey, from that initial spark to making a connection, to building rapport, to guiding them to a decision, to then nurturing them so that they become a resource for additional business and referrals.
How do you let's say you come on an engagement for a client and you say to them, so why do clients buy from you? And so then they say, well, they buy from me because of this, this, and this. And then I guess your next question is, how do you know? Right? How do you know? And they say, oh, I just know. Right? Do you then say, well, listen, let's do this. Let's get some surveys out there, or let's go talk to some clients and let's ask them. Let's say, why did you buy from me? Is that the way it kind of goes?
Well, normally we have a strategic process that we put in place, and then when clients engage with us, they're engaging in that to create that process and methodology, to put in place for their business. And that is part of the exercise. Now, there are some times where that client thinking exercise isn't needed in the sense of interviewing the clients. But I recommend, rather than a survey, actually interviewing them so we can watch their body language.
Yeah.
So we can see all the things that they're saying and they're not saying. And also having that done by a third party allows the clients to be more forthcoming. Also using the powerful pause and then going, okay, tell me more. And getting that second answer, because that second answer is often closer to the truth than that top level answer. And using all those skills that we have to really draw that out and get that information. But we also do client thinking exercises. And those are especially helpful for brand new entrepreneurs, brand new businesses that really haven't developed a solid book of business yet. And in some cases, don't even have a viable product. And so putting that together helps us then identify what is it that the client wants, needs, and lack. Why does it matter to them? So they can what? And I've got my iPhone right here. Who in the heck buys an iPhone to make a phone call? Nobody. I mean, you buy the new one because it's got a better camera. It's got a better video camera. It's got, a gigabyte of storage. I don't even know what it's up to now, right? You buy it for all these other reasons. That's why you buy it. And so tapping into that, and of course, with that kind of product, there's a lot of different reasons, but there's going to be a couple key ones that you're always going to be looking at. And that's why you'll notice that every generation of iPhone has a better camera, a better video system, because that's a number one motivator to upgrade your device. So when you can tap into those core things that matter to the client, so they can what? That enables you then to communicate more effectively from the very beginning to create that spark of interest and attraction, and then to connect.
Yeah, I know this would be a guess, but what percentage of the time have you seen the person you're working with go back to their clients to verify why they think that they're buying from them, and it's different than what the owner or whoever thought? Is it 75% the owner has his pulse of why someone's buying, 25% he's learning something new that he or she wasn't aware of? Or is it the reverse? Is it usually someone's like, oh my God, they're buying for a reason I didn't expect?
Absolutely. That's
the higher
overwhelmingly percentage. There are motivations and reasons and emotions that have come into play from the buyer perspective that the business owner has not even considered. And so a classic example was a company that provided on-site treatment for reoccurring or muscular, pain. And they assumed that the clients are purchasing from them because it lowered their worker comp claims, really helped that and their overall healthcare costs. In fact, their clients were purchasing from them because they cared about their employees' health. That's what mattered to them. They wanted their employees, the retention, they wanted their employees to feel good, they wanted them to have good morale, and they wanted to take care of them. Total disconnect. It wasn't about the money. The overwhelming reason is that they gave a darn about their team members.
Yeah, I've been there actually. I had a partner once who was like, I don't want to give medical insurance to my employees. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I want to take care of my employees,
Yeah.
and so we're going to offer that no matter how expensive it is, So usually, do the companies that you work with understand the idea of a pipeline, of a funnel, of phases that a sales goes through? I mean, do they understand those processes, and do you incorporate that into your consulting assignment?
Absolutely. So we go through creating the entire client journey and what that looks like. Once you have your core strategic foundation in place, what's the client thinking? Who's that ideal client avatar? What's that client journey? Because you want to eliminate any gaps and areas of friction and make sure it's a delightful experience, and then that building that relationship and the worthy intent that goes with it. That is the foundation of a rockin' sales strategy that's going to last and perform highly. So then you start bolting on all the other pieces, the communication, the outreach, the follow-up. Please, let's make sure we have follow-up. That's the number one thing, actually having a strategic follow-up plan. It's one thing that I see lacking across the board, or it's follow-up that is unbelievably lame. Like, hi, Stephen, this is Lynn. I'm calling to follow up and see if you're ready to move forward with that proposal. Don't do that. Please, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, don't do that. Instead, Stephen, oh my gosh, I just heard the most amazing podcast. This is something that's really going to move your business forward. I think it has tremendous value. The topic was sales strategy. So listen, I'm going to just pop this in an email so that you can give it a quick listen the next time you're working out or making that drive to the local PTA, whatever it is. And I really think this is going to give you massive value. Oh, by the way, this is Lynn at Petite2Queen. And then you drop it in an email. All right. So the key is that you're planning on getting their voicemail, right? You actually pick up the phone, but you're delivering value and you're telling them why it matters to them. Now, I just did that on the fly, but you plan these things out and you plan them for where people are in the sales process. And you keep that sale moving forward because people get busy. I mean, that's the other number one thing that occurs is ghosting. And it's not because they're not interested, but other things are on the front burner. And you need to stay in their mind. You need to stay in front of them in a positive way that delivers value. And I can guarantee you that will move forward and you can bust the ghost and you'll be able to go to the next stage in the sales when you use that kind of follow-up strategy.
Yeah, and it's all interconnected, isn't it? I mean, if you really figure out your customer's journey from a prospect to a customer, that's not only going to help you in sales, but it's also like my big thing is I believe that you really can grow your company if you have a great lead generation system that converts prospects into clients that make you good money. And I really believe that the key to success and the reason for failure is the inability to convert a client from a prospect or to get people into the prospect mode to become a client. And everyone's thinking about designing the product. And what I've found in my experience is you could have a product that is superior and no lead generation system, no sales process, and you will fail. And you can have a product that isn't maybe as good, but if you have a superior sales process than your competitors, a superior lead generation method, then you'll be successful in your business. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is knowing the customer journey the way I think, Lynn, what you're saying, I completely agree with, really helps you in the lead generation category. And that's marketing. I call it lead generation. I think it's easier to understand that. And I'll give you an example. Like, I worked for Xerox for 8 years. Xerox was the Google of its time. I have to think of it. They really were great. The training was amazing. The people they hired were really good. And, I'm not going to, I don't like, but I was one of the top sales reps in the country for the company. They had about 5,000 sales reps. And I really believed in what they did. And they had showed us this sales phase. And I always used it. It was called, every single company, a prospect goes through this phase: the interest phase, the development phase, and then the commitment phase. And then inside of each one of those phases, depending on the business you're in, is the customer journey. And so in all the businesses I was involved with, I always made sure I understood and identified the IDC, the interest, development, commitment phase for that particular journey. And, I would tell you that it really made a big difference in the success of the organizations I built. Is that same process today relevant?
Yeah.
It's the same
Absolutely.
thing. Hasn't changed.
It's still the same thing. I mean, you call it interest, I call it creating the spark. It's, however you want to the terminology you want to use. And that attraction and creating that, I mean, obviously you're using lead gen to do that. But if you don't know what your client wants, needs, or lacks, why it matters to them so they can, you're not going to make the connection. You're not going to create the spark or the interest. So understanding that and then making sure that every step of the way, when you have a lead gen, let's say you have a lead magnet and the person then gets that lead magnet. If it's a hot mess or piece of, yicky, you've just lost them. I mean, all that effort is gone. So you've got to think through every part of that stage. And then when you bring them in, how are you nurturing them? How are you moving them forward? how are you creating that delightful experience so that they want more? And that core strategy, with whether it's in every process from that lead gen into the next, when you have the conversations and it becomes a human relationship, to if they're still nurturing that client, if you're doing some kind of SaaS system, it's because they're doing other things with technology, for to move you forward, to sign up for Canva or whatever it happens to be, so that you can move from maybe a free account to a paid account, or just sign up to begin with. And that's all part of a process. And understanding that process and building that out, that becomes that bedrock foundation that does enable you to grow and scale. And when you map out your client journey and you involve your entire team in the company, that they really understand that if they don't have a client, they're not in business. They're literally, the clients support the entire organization. And it helps shape the mindset that the client, how important those clients are. They're not a nuisance. It's not a pain. This is what's paying their paycheck. And when you incorporate that, it allows the company itself to transform and to better service and to think through, well, they'll recognize things. Well, this could be a problem for the client because of how we've set something up, and it's not going to create a good experience for them. And people become more engaged, your own team, so that you can help yourselves.
Yeah, listen, the sexy part about being a business owner is when you come up with the idea and you implement it. The unsexy part of building a business is the execution, right? And what I've seen, honestly, is in most cases, a huge percentage of the cases, okay, you're gonna have to be great at execution if you're going to build your company.
Yeah.
And that really involves processes and I people hate the word processes, and I get it. So I changed that word, and with my employees and with even my business partners that I've had, and said best practices.
Yeah.
What is our best practices for our sales, and what is our sales process? And then the other thing I think about that is to make sure that everybody in the company, you're small enough, if you 30, 40 employees or less, everybody should know the customer journey at your organization, because it helps reinforce things. And then plus you have to have it defined and formal. And what I'm trying to say is, all the business owners I know that have built successful businesses have all been really, I'll use the word anal, about understanding their customer journeys, having it documented, and making sure that everybody understands, what their customers go through, to become a customer. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you too is, just so you caught my attention before when we were talking about follow up. So we were one of the companies I knew our follow up was not good. And I was like, I need a good CRM system that's going to make sure that we follow through on somebody. And so I went to a conference, and at this conference was like the perfect CRM system, exactly what I was looking for. Right? They would, it would have set that had the different, I had learned prior that you need to call someone 6 times or contact someone 6 times before you give up on them. This system automatically did that. It automatically set it up so that it popped up. You had a big chart in front of you. So I got the software, had automatic dial, it had automatic texting, it had all this stuff, right? Everything was defined. It was like me and being 7 salespeople, right? I had 7 salespeople at the time. And so it did everything that I would have done as a salesperson. Within 3 months, our sales doubled. Just on the fact that, and I don't really want to blame my salespeople because they just had the wrong tool, right? And it was just amazing the difference that little change made in our system. And I think it goes back to process, best practices, kind of like that. Have you seen similar stories like that as well?
No, absolutely. I mean, strategy around follow up, outreach, follow up, ghosting, all that is core. Uh, and what's really surprising is the statistics around follow up. And you could also say who's ghosting who, because salespeople get busy
Yeah.
and they miss the follow ups, even if they do have or use a CRM. They will go, well, I don't even know what to say, because you haven't developed the strategy to work it out, so that they have the pieces that they just pick. This is right for right now, pick and grab and take and get it done. And so when you've put that in place, everything runs so much more effectively and efficiently, and the client is getting the attention that they need. You're establishing your credibility. You're establishing that you're capable and competent because you're going to follow up. So they know what it's going to be like to work with you. And that is, once again, that's a key part of building trust so that they're ready to move forward with a decision. And so when you apply those core follow-up strategies, into your system, yes, that's why the classic phrase, the fortune is in the follow-up. Very few people are ready to buy right away. It's an incredibly low percentage. People require that follow-up. And your most loyal buyers, people who love processes and process maps and methodology and systems, they are your most loyal buyers. They take the longest to make a decision. So that follow-up is continuing to nurture them so that they reach that point of trust so they can move forward with a decision. So all of that comes into play. And you're right. I think the numbers, and they differ. I put in a 13-step program for follow-up, so the baker's dozen. And at that point, they would go into some kind of automated, nurturing system.
Yeah.
But, and you can say, and of course, if someone, the whole point is, even before all that, you need to be talking to the right people. If these are not your ideal clients, if they haven't said heck yes to your 5 key points of why they should be your client, then you're wasting your time and resources to begin with. So getting that right to begin with, so then you are investing the time in the people who are your dream clients. That's also a critical step that many people miss. And you can throw spaghetti at the wall all day long, but personally, I don't want to eat off the floor. I want a nice plate.
Yeah.
with roasted asparagus and garlic bread and a glass of wine.
Yeah.
So that's the core part that sets people apart in thriving businesses, is when they do take the time to identify that client journey, their strategy, and they do implement and execute on it.
What
They take action.
The people who come to you, do you find that they're often people who are just they're not very good at sales. They don't either like it. They're not really good at it. And they say, I really need help. Are those the majority of your clients?
It really ranges. Some people come because they actually are good at having those conversations and building relationships, but everything else is a hot mess.
Yeah.
And they don't have the other systems and processes in place, and they haven't really built out a strategic plan.
Yeah.
So that can be one side. I have people who come who they're afraid to ask for the sale. They think it's sleazy, slimy. They don't like it. And it's, first of all, it's like switching that mindset around, because if you have a product or service that truly helps, that creates impact, then you have a moral obligation to be serving those people. And in exchange, you're paid. And so those people are really focused more on mindset, and they will definitely get into those, like, I don't know what to say. And it's like, okay, well, let's think about it. What matters to them? What do they need to hear from you? And take yourself out of the equation. This is always focused on your client. And by learning and doing, you get better. I'm sorry, but I've yet to see a baby go from rolling on its back to suddenly leaping up and running across the room.
Yeah.
Never happens.
Baby steps.
They have to learn first how to get onto their hands and knees. They have to start crawling. Then they start reaching up and grabbing for the sofa. And then it's Frankenstein as they're walking through. And eventually, they're running. But it took a while to learn all that. And I want everyone to remember that that's the key thing here. Start taking action and start putting the pieces in place. You're going to get more comfortable with it. It's going to become more natural, and then you can fly.
Yeah, I also think it helps you with product development to really understanding what your customers really want. It helps you with operations, knowing where maybe a customer, after they've been working with you, when you go through recycling back through the cycle again, following up and everything like that, where maybe customers are leaving you for some reason and you find out that. So if you understand the customer journey for the whole thing, it really helps every part of the organizations. It's the basis of everything. I mean, let's face it, if you focus on your customer, that's, everybody knows, if you focus on your customer, then you're going to be running a good business. But if you focus on the product, that's really, you're getting away from your customer, and that could cause some major problems. So let's recap a little bit here. Number one biggest thing you're saying is, know why clients are buying from you, right? Yeah. That's the number one most important thing.
Yeah, get into their head. What's the client thinking?
Yep. What's number two?
Number two is follow up. It's always a tie. Which one is the deadly sin? A failure to follow up or failure to think like your client. So number two, I really start with client thinking is more important. Yep. But number two is follow up.
And number three?
Number three is worthy intent. And we really didn't talk about that, but worthy intent means that you genuinely care, that you want to create an impact for your clients, that your motivation is to help and to serve. Everyone has a really high BS meter these days. And to be truly successful, you have to be coming from the right place. To have long-lasting repeat business, to get referrals and introductions, raving fans for your business. You have to come at it with that genuine, authentic interest. And I call that worthy intent.
Yeah. And I think I think there's times when business owners can evolve into that incredible emotional intent of why their company does what they do. Right. I've had, a couple of companies, and sometimes I started off those companies just with the idea of making money, which, God forbid you should say that nowadays. Right. Because everybody's trying to change the world. I mean, it's like, I'm an old fart, I guess. The idea is you build a business because you want to make money. And it doesn't have to be at the cost of treating your employees bad or, or lying to your customers. It doesn't have to be that way. It should not be that way, right?
You won't be successful long-term.
You will not be successful. It'll catch you up, right? But what I'm saying is, then, I've noticed with the companies I've had is, and as we've gone along, then we start to find a real purpose that's not money driven, and that really compounds growth, right? And then it makes employees want to, love the company, and then it makes customers want to be raving fans, and and I think that really kind of made a difference. I had this one company on just a case study here where we placed registered nurses at hospitals throughout the United States on long-term temporary assignments. They're called travel nurses. Yeah. It was one of the companies that made Inc. 500 fastest growing. And so I was working on this branding product with my team. And so we were trying to come up with a really good tagline. and we worked with this consultant. It was really good, and what we came up with was um, rewarding travel experiences, and that these nurses would they wanted to go on these assignments not because they were making a lot more money than they would full-time employment, but because they wanted to go to Hawaii, they wanted to go to Alaska, they wanted to go to an Indian reservation. It was those rewarding travel experiences. And then once we came up with that idea and tagline, the whole company changed from the idea of money-driven nurses to being being an actual travel agent and saying, hey, when you go to Alaska, you're going to want to see this and this and this and this. And and then we would say, listen, we got to treat these people really, really, really well because, they're going on an assignment to change their lives. It just became a bigger picture than just making $55 an hour.
It's definitely the experience, and there is balance. Like, you can't have worthy intent without making a profit and without being paid what you're worth. Okay, let's take that right off the table right here. But money is only a motivator to a certain extent. I also was high level professional global sales, and at a certain point, for me, it was more about really helping transform the sales teams that I work with, to serve and help the clients. And money, when you don't have the other half of the equation, you're just long term, you're not going to be as successful. I believe that you need both,
Yeah.
to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, listen, it was a good conversation. I knew it was going to be. It's a fun topic for me, definitely. I know it is for you too, Lynn. I'd like to thank so very much Lynn Whitbeck from Petite2Queen. It's Petite and then number 2 and then Queen for coming on today's podcast. And if you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend and also subscribe on your favorite podcasting apps. We have fantastic guests. This is like over my 400th episode. We always have great people. I always try to bring people on who have real life experience. So if you like today's podcast or any other ones, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps us get the word out about the podcast. And if you're looking for a line of credit for your business, please feel free to visit our website at fscreditline.com. Again, that's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com, or call us at 862-207-4118. Lynn, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, I am the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn, the last time I checked. And of course, you can go to our website at Petite2Queen.com or watch my TV show, Get More Clients, if you would like to get more clients.
Yeah, good. I like it. Thanks for coming on today, Lynn.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate the opportunity. And it was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, good. Well, that's the purpose, right? That's why I do this, just to have fun. The takeaway that I'm going to suggest to all our listeners is take a month, understand your customer journey, ask your customers, go to 5 customers, ask them why they work with you, and go to 5 people who don't work with you or why they didn't work with you. They were in the funnel and they didn't work with you, and go to them and say, what happened? Go to recent people. Don't go to people that were a couple months out. They won't remember. And that's a good place to start. And then go back and listen. You want to grow your business? I would hire Lynn. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, really, it's just such an advantage to have an outside consultant who's done this a million times with other clients, and they bring all that knowledge to you. To me, it just makes complete business sense to work with an outside consultant like Lynn. And so I think that's really take this as an important part of the growth of your company, to take the next month or 2 and really dive into this important process. Because if you figure out the sales process, then you can figure out the marketing process, and then then you figure out the customer service process, and then you just go from there. Other than that, everybody have a great day. Keep working on your business. That's the fun part. That's the sexy part, growing the business. And I love it. I really do. That's what makes the world go round for me.